everyone. Welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with...
CJ Lou from the Fired Up with CJ show.
Woohoo!
Woo!
If you've ever felt stuck in a rut or wondered, where do I go from here? Then do we have the Open to New Possibilities, Expand Your Horizons, and Dare to Dream show for you. Today we'll talk about... I don't know, I didn't actually write it down, whatever the next sentence is. That should say a lot right there. Today we'll talk about stepping forward, daring to dream, getting uncomfortable, and being open to crazy new possibilities. That plus we'll talk about cover show revivals. Gone bad, that is. Walking maniacs, getting motivated, Sara B songs, energy baths, graduation ceremonies, Aspen Mountain fat shoes, getting off of the throttle, and what in the world Michael in the movies has to do with anything.
Woo!
So, back to the show, CJ. Are you ready to shine?
I am ready to shine. Woo! Okay, you're in the movies. What were you doing?
Bill Bennett made them. He's such an award-winning documentary filmmaker and TV journalist in Australia. He's made something like 16 documentaries. He's won 2 equivalents of the Emmy in Australia. And he made an amazing, amazing documentary called PGS that I recommend for everybody, Personal Guidance System. And he came here to film 2 documentaries with me in it on Friday.
Wow, wait, were you the main feature?
No, they're in all of them. He probably uses, my guess is a dozen, maybe more than that, different people, kind of the secret style of documentaries, or I guess it's many others documentary style before The Secret. And the first documentary is on fear. The second documentary is on the other side of the veil. And we had a blast. And, I can't really speak too out of turn. Well, he was blown away. It was really cool.
Yeah.
When I had the opportunity to drop in and go quiet, it was really special what came out. And what was most exciting to me was... 2020 is the year of books for me. It's the year that I get this machine cranking. And something Jessica has rightfully accused me of when I sit down and write, of writing what she used to call bloated whales.
That's nice.
This is a decade ago. I've gotten much better since then. When we had Barefoot Running come out, it was a bloated whale that got turned by the first editor into a baby beluga. And then our new editor at the time got it turned into a svelte dolphin. And now both I don't want to be verbose, and time is a very precious commodity, how I move around my chess pieces these days. Doing interviews or doing writing books as an interview format may be a very expeditious way to go for me. Have an interviewer ask me questions. We can have an organized topic. And I think a book can come out of me, almost like Paul Selig, very quickly with minimal edits needing to be done.
Yeah, we talked about this last week because I think I talked to you right after your interview.
So we already talked about that?
We did.
Well,
I thought there was something else that I just had this vision of you riding your bike and someone filming you. Sorry.
Showing how things go.
It's still good. It's still good, Michael.
We'll keep it in. But it's really, this vision is becoming clearer and clearer of how we do this. No, you're right. I have done interviews on the bicycle riding across the country. You could do that. I'm not suggesting that is the best way.
No, I just had this vision of you always have these things that I can't even imagine how they come about, but I just had this vision of you riding your bike and someone someone asking you to be in a film. I don't know why. In addition to the other one, Bill Bennett one.
I'm sure we've had stuff like that even this week. The number of synchronicities, we're really back in the flow, and so the number of synchronicities has been huge. So you never know.
So you feel, I don't understand when you feel like you're stuck or in a rut. How is this relevant at all in this situation?
Because we're doing the opposite of that. Oh. Think of Costanza and Seinfeld, and there was an episode where Costanza started doing the opposite of everything he had done before, And
I see.
Steinbrenner hires him. He gets to work for the Yankees. He gets the girl, so to speak, by doing the opposite of everything he's done. So, for myself, this means getting uncomfortable, trying new things. So, one of those is I don't want to belabor shoes too much. I think we went a little shoe crazy last week, but I'm a minimalist. I wear almost nothing for footwear, even when I run. And I really want to bomb downhills fast. There's a better term than that. I want to dance downhills fast, and my footwear has been inadequate. And so I am willing to revisit 10 years after we wrote Barefoot Running and Barefoot Walking, what my choice is in shoes for mountain running. And I'm going to actually go and try something maximalist versus minimalist.
What?
So going to the opposite of my ethos, getting way outside of
Won't
my
it hurt
comfort.
your feet to switch?
So, well, what I'm looking at is shoes that still give me toe spread
Hmm.
and won't have support. Because that's my biggest thing is I'm against support, I'm against toe spread, these are all, I'm open to anything, but I'm looking for as flat of a shoe, no heel, no big honking heel on it.
And
I'm
no
looking
arch
for
support.
no arch support and not suffocating my toes, but I'm willing to try cushion if it will let me. Around here, I'm running like 12,000-foot mountains. There's a 13er that I'll run a little bit as well. Really steep downhills, and I can't get to my forefoot on the downhill. I have to catch with my heel. There's no way to put my toes underneath me
Oh, got it.
when you're on a 10 or 20 degree slope. And so all of my rules go out the window. The most important
Oh.
part here isn't about the shoe, it's being willing to say, maybe I don't have the answer. Maybe I'm even wrong. And let me try something else
Mm.
and see how it goes. That is being uncomfortable. That's opening myself up to crazy possibilities. That's saying, I have a dream of running mountains. Like I've talked about it for years. I want to run mountains like the wind. And on the downhills, I have struggled. There's a certain grade at which I'll fly down the hill. And as soon as we go steeper than that, I'm stuck and I
Mm.
can't go very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And
Interesting.
so willing to try new things. Now we have our first class of coach trainees, Inspire Nation coaches,
Mm-hmm.
is graduating this weekend. Woohoo!
Yay.
We've never taught a class before, so it's our first
Mm-hmm.
right there. So
Mm-hmm.
which did mean getting uncomfortable. We've never had a group of people come out to us for a weekend retreat,
Oh,
and
they came out with you in
they're going to
Colorado.
be out this weekend. So we're going to have a
Oh,
graduation ceremony. We're taking them
so
up Aspen Mountain.
exciting.
And what we're learning is we can hold other retreats out here.
Oh,
Have people come
nice.
out to Colorado, go for hikes with us, teach on top of the mountains, do intention work on
Do you have room
these
in your
grand.
house for them to stay?
No, we're going to have to stay at B&Bs. There's so many B&Bs nearby. And so they'll stay, we'll get a place with Airbnb, have people come out, and for 3 to 5 days, immerse them in our world, teach them everything that we can teach them, have them do intention work on with just like 14,000-foot peaks all around them,
Wow.
inspire them before sending them out in the world. This is
Can they do
outside.
the Aspen Mountain? What's not everyone can walk up to Aspen
Oh,
Mountain,
we're taking
Michael.
everybody up on the gondola for
Oh,
Aspen Mountain.
okay. But going downhill is the hardest part on your knees.
So we're taking them down on the gondola as well.
Okay, so not exactly your routine if you're not making them run up Aspen Mountain as well as run down Aspen Mountain.
No, but I'm sure we will have retreats in the future once we get this model down where we can take people and do some really big hikes that people maybe train to
Right.
get ready and come out with us and play in the mountains. And if we have fun with this, maybe we can take them to like a Machu Picchu kind of place or someplace else and go explore the world with small groups of people while
Oh, that's a great idea,
shift
Michael.
their lives, making them be on, helping them be on fire. So this model is all coming out of nowhere of being open. We've got so many projects going on. This was not on the list, but it's actually fun, and we do get to see what
And
slots
is
where. We
Jessica
can't see yes
excited
to
about
everything.
this? Does she like doing
It
this stuff?
tremendously,
Oh, good.
tremendously excited about it.
Okay, so
So,
she likes traveling and
oh,
doing all this stuff.
well, she did the Peace Corps. She did the Peace Corps in the Caribbean
Hmm.
when she got out of college, and then
Hmm.
she went and threw herself up in Alaska as a tour guide. So
so this is her jam. Like this is the thing she likes doing. Oh,
she
okay.
loves doing this. Now she hasn't slept well the last few nights because she's trying to put all the scheduling puzzle pieces together. How's this all going to fit? And we're doing coaching sessions with everybody and training sessions, but we're also into the fun stuff. So we're going to be taking them to the mountain festival, and they'll get to listen to bluegrass, and we're taking them to all of these different local events as
Oh,
well.
that's going to be fabulous. What a great graduation. And well, you'll have to tell me about the ceremony next week because I don't want to spoil it for a few folks. I want to hear it afterwards.
All right, we'll
Oh,
do.
so exciting. That's really great. Well, I've been testing my shoes and my feet hurt a little bit. Like I actually got some more supportive they're the hikers for
You got the zero shoes.
yeah, not zero. No, I got the zero shoes and for sandals and they're super thin. I mean, they're really thin, which I think I like, but I'm not sure yet. It feels a little bit, I don't know. I'll have to test them out. But you can cut them yourself with your kitchen shears and sand them down. I'm like, what? So I thought, okay, let's check it
I
out.
used to have a belt grinder and all this stuff for modifying shoes.
Really?
It's a slippery slope, CJ.
That sounds like it will be a slippery slope.
Bring a Dremel tool with you to
Yeah,
Spain.
so so I got zero shoes and I'm testing out. It made my ankle wobble less, which I think is good. I in honor of you, I thought, okay, I'm gonna get on this wobble. I have not been able to get a wobble ball, but our gym had one, so I was doing leg lifts on the wobble ball, and wow, those are hard. I had to hold on to something because I can't do them without holding on to just like something lightly. I mean, it's really
Now we
hard to
know
do.
where you get to work.
Huh? I
So
know.
because it's all one-legged action. One
Yeah.
leg, other leg, other leg, other leg. So we get to hold ourselves centered.
Yeah. So I mean, it was interesting. The first time I did it, because I
Mhm.
was doing 3 sets. So the first set was like, oh my gosh, I did with my shoes, which was like really hard. And then the second set I did with my socks, and it was a lot easier. And then the third set, I was beginning to do it without any holding on to anything. So it just takes a while to like get used to how to balance your body. So I've been testing shoes. I've been testing towels because I don't really know what the scenario is. Some people feel like they have to bring sheets and towels because the in when you do the Camino because there are bed bugs sometimes, and sometimes there's towels and sometimes there aren't. So you have to bring these towels that are like yoga. You know how they have those yoga towels that you put on top of your yoga mat? They're like thinner versions of yoga towels. So I've been testing out yoga towels. I mean, travel towels and which ones actually dry quickly, absorb the most water, and don't feel disgusting. So I'm
What
doing that.
what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to I'll lay all of these things out. You're planning on taking the Camino. Put them all on your bed. See what you've got. Put them in your pack and start plus food and water and start hiking with it every other day.
Yeah, no, I've been
So
hiking with my backpack, but I don't have. I think that's a good idea to just see like, I don't have the full list yet, but I have like a bunch of water. It'll probably be like 10 to 15 pounds. So I'm trying to put as much weight as I can deal with.
yes, so every other day keep adding to that pack
Oh, that's a good idea.
to get up to your full weight. And let's see how the body responds. Let's see how the pack feels. Let's see what you start to swear obscenities to and say to hell with it. I would rather have bed bugs than that extra pound on my back.
Yeah, they're
And
pretty light, but yeah, I agree.
everything adds up.
Yeah.
I mean, I was literally taking, sorry, Wayne, I was literally saying that to the heavens at this point, but taking Wayne Dyer's book and peeling a section off of it after I read it
Oh yeah,
and
the
mailing it
books weigh
back
the
home to
most.
me.
Yeah, they weigh the
So
most.
everything adds up.
Yeah.
Even a key fob adds up at the end of the day.
I hear you. Okay, that's a good idea. I actually have a lot of the stuff now, and I'm just trying to like make sure I like the things that I have. I'm trying today my compression leggings. And I don't someone was saying that compression leggings feel really good on your legs. Do they make a difference? Have you tried them ever?
Compression leggings, I found benefits with athletes if there's particular soreness, things of that sort. I'm not worried necessarily about venous return on a 10-mile thing. You may not like it. Um, Depending on the temperature, they have cooling, and Jessica's been using arm versions of them, compression arm coolers on
Hmm.
her arms that are white or kind of a reflective white that keeps her arms cooler in the heat. And then she doesn't have to put so much sunscreen on or none on her arms because they have like an SPF
Oh.
50. So that
Oh.
might be a valuable thing. And they do make leg coolers as well. So depending on
Oh.
the temperature, and again, you're going to have very limited changes of clothing. You get to pick and choose carefully. You may choose that your compression gear to keep you cool is a choice for you. I'm not sure mid-September what the temperature is like on the Camino.
Yeah, they said it can vary. I mean, it's probably going to be in the 70s, but probably could be up to the 80s. So it's exactly like the weather right now in Seattle. So
Yeah.
compression, I thought compressions were to like add like the pressure somehow keeps the muscles from being sore.
Well, it marginally keeps the muscles from being sore. Compression has 2 points. During activity, in theory, it helps with venous return, which can make you stronger and more powerful.
What's venous
Theoretically,
return? What is that?
your veins to return blood flow to the heart.
Ah, okay, got it.
So, because it's basically like taking a hose, like you're going to
Mm-hmm.
go wash your car or spraying
Mm-hmm.
your kids down, and pinching it off, and you get tighter flow through it. And it sprays with more
Um,
power, so it gets back to the heart easier. So, like
ah,
if you're sitting at a desk or you're on an airplane,
mm-hmm.
wear compression gear and things swell less. So
Hmm.
that's a real benefit, particularly long jet travel. That can be very important. Myself, who's traveled after surgeries, I've used what's called TED stockings, TED, which are a very high level of compression to
Right.
help prevent blood clots.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so literally keep me alive on long trips. So that's one possibility. The other, and I have in a Saucony compression, basically set of pajamas where the zipper is misplaced for guys, compression suit in my closet that compresses the whole body so that you're supposed to get a lot more venous return when you sleep after a big workout or after a marathon so that
Interesting.
your body can clean out old gunk faster so that you can recover faster. It helps
Interesting.
support the lymphatic system.
Interesting. And does it work? I don't know.
My guess is it works modestly. I can't stand to put myself in something that's really snug. I would rather this is not something you take on the trip. They have devices like I think the Tour de France athletes use them these days, where they put themselves in almost like air casts, and
Oh,
they
wow.
inflate these things, and it gives a high level of venous return. They use it for maybe 30 or 40 minutes as a recovery tool each night under substantial pressure, and it helps flush things through and get them out.
Fascinating. Okay, interesting. All right, I'll have to check out the stuff Jessica is using. I've been walking. I amped it up from 10 miles a day to 11 miles for 5 days and 6 miles for 2 days. And I'm now on I don't remember when the last time, I think last Thursday was the last time I did a short day. And it's really hard. What's interesting is, there's the physical, like walking, but it's the mental game that is like, I think you were saying this, it's the mental game that's the hardest, which is,
The physical's
okay,
nothing. That
yes,
doesn't mean that you don't have to. You have to take care of your body, but the energy output and stuff, it's really about what you train your mind to be able to
oh
do,
my gosh,
which is what we're talking about here.
yeah, it's really been hard to get my mind like, okay, and routines like, okay, so how am I going to be walking 11 miles, which is basically 4 hours every day I'm walking. And so I'm, listening to MP3s, I'm listening to music, I'm listening to uh, PBS News Hour. It's just, so do you have any tips on? I know you said that you started doing the same thing
I
and then
go
you
the
got
reverse
silenced.
now. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my God, 4 hours to spend in the silence. How awesome is that?
yeah.
So now I try to make things interesting and different and not do the same course every day and have carrots for myself. Like
Mm.
maybe I'm going to go 5 miles and I'm going to stop at the donut shop and, oh, a donut. Well, if you're walking 10 miles a day, have a flipping donut if you want.
Right.
Come on, guys. So Have a carrot out there for yourself.
Yeah.
So with Jessica, it's we're gonna do this badass tandem ride, but at the end, I call it a Boba Fett. You get to have your Boba Fett. It's a Bobo or Bobi, Bobo Thai tea, I guess is it.
Oh,
Or
yeah, those things are great. I like
I'm
those.
sure I'm butchering the name. Sorry, everybody, but I call it a Boba Fett out of Star Wars. But here's a fun thing. I'm going to switch gears on you, and we can come back to the
Yeah.
mind games and playing games. Um, there was an article that came out, a blogger post earlier this year that went viral about a couple who took a month and started walking 8 hours a day for a month. And they measured all of their blood values, their triglycerides and cholesterol levels and everything before they did their walk. And then after they did the walk. And like one of them was pre diabetic beforehand, and that was gone, and all of these different things. I was full on asthmatic before my 5,000-mile bike ride and that completely went away. I was on Proventil, Singulair, and Advair every day, twice a day, and I have no more
Wow.
asthma. So
Wow.
I
Whatever? Like
know.
it hasn't come back?
Oh no, no. I had like 80% lung capacity beforehand, and I probably have about 150. I know the last measured value was like probably 120, and it's gone up since then. Probably 150% lung capacity now. I mean, I've run up to 14,000-foot peaks, and I'm like, woohoo!
Right.
All of that changed from getting myself being back to being a natural human being. We are
Wow.
meant to move every day. So I'm wondering, it's not too late. I'm wondering if we could get blood values on you now versus after the Camino
What? How do
and
you
see
get
how your
blood
body has
values?
changed.
Yeah, I would be
Go to your
curious.
doctor and you can get, for instance, a complete blood count. You can get a blood sugar blood count.
Well, I've had relatively recently I've a bunch of blood like told you for this nutrition thing, a whole bunch of blood panels that have been done. So I have that beforehand. I mean, I can just do the Camino
Cool.
and do another one and see
It
what
would
the
be
results are.
fascinating because 4 hours a day will change your body, dramatically
Yeah.
change your body,
Yeah,
and very positive.
yeah, I actually feel that, it's funny. So I went to a workshop. It was a tantra yoga workshop, and it wasn't about sex. It's tantra is just the
So
idea.
Tantra's whole
Yeah, it's
is
just about being non-dual, but people get scared like, "What are you doing? What were you doing this workshop?" Um anyways, wait, what were we just talking about?
we were talking about the walk. We were talking about 4 hours a day. We were talking about mind gains to keep you going. We were talking about blood
No,
values
no, it has to do. Okay, well, it will come back to
and the
me.
body changing.
Yeah. Ah, okay, it will come back to me. Can't remember. Anyways, I will teach you something about that, and I know what will come to me is what I was planning on saying before. All right, so one thing that I learned. Oh, I remember. There's three. They were talking about chakras, and there's chakras, which is a totally made up American concept, which is including like chakras 1 through 7, each of them having a meaning, like in a vibration, and like sprays and rocks and minerals, and that's kind of an American idea. And then there's chakras, which are from India, which originally are about energy systems, and and he wasn't like dismissing the American version, but it's not Indian, so it's like a appropriation of these terms into something that's now a whole different thing. Like fried rice is not a Chinese thing, however, it's a thing and it's delicious and I love it. So they're talking about
I've got
how
to interrupt you.
yeah.
So, as a kid, I rode bicycle hours and hours and hours a day. And many summers, I would do the Tour de Fried Rice. I would ride and pit stop at a different Chinese food restaurant every day
It's
and try the
fantastic.
fried rice.
It's good, right? I mean,
It kept me
who
going.
cares if it's an American thing? It's still good, even though it had like a Chinese kind of idea because it was rice. And so he was saying instead that really, kind of if you take all of this away, there's basically three bindu, which are three points of focus. One is in your heart, one is in your third eye area, and one is in your kind of like your sacral area. And he said, people usually awaken in one of these three areas. They either awaken through the heart, and that's about energy and like opening up energetically. They open up through their third eye, which is awareness of the infinite, or they open up in their sacral chakra, which is embodiment, full embodiment, and like feeling energy within their body. And the other day I woke up and I was like, wow, I can actually feel energy coursing through my body, which I could through my heart meditations, but it was a different kind of sensation. So I do think that somehow the walking is doing something, at least energetically. I can feel, and of course it would, right? It's not only health reasons, but I can feel like a different kind of like pulsation at my feet and in my heart that's different.
When one of the things, so we have a mindful running program, mindfulrunning.org,
Yeah.
and one of the things that we teach is there's two different techniques. Well, there's many. There's at least two that we teach of drawing up energy from the feet as you walk or you run.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can literally visualize if you're going, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. You can imagine yourself drawing up energy right from your feet, right up through your spine, right up and out to the heavens
Mm-hmm.
to give you more power. You
Yeah.
could literally do it as a Tai Chi exercise where you're kind of kneading a ball, but
Right.
now we
Just
draw it up
up,
from
up.
the earth as we walk and down and draw it up again. You can picture yourself as a circle and a wheel. Bring it up, bring it back down around, bring it up. So that energy you're feeling is real. And
Yeah.
now that you've got a taste of it, now that you've got awareness, you can play with that even more. I do that when I run, sometimes big runs. First off, I'm praying to the elders because I believe we're surrounded all the time. And so I'm going, guys, help me. and,
Yeah.
and then I'm drawing in energy from the earth and
Yeah.
drawing it in and
Yeah.
drawing it in. So how cool is that?
Yeah. So I do think that I was thinking, it's funny because I was thinking, I think my body is changing. I mean, it's physically changing, right? Because my legs are like chicken legs. Like so they have like zero, they didn't have a lot of fat on them before, but they are just like getting to be like just a few muscles on some bones.
A few strong muscles on some
strong,
bones.
strong muscles on some bones. That's kind of shocking. So I do see that that's working. But I just read an article about um, this guy hit another guy in a car. He had an epileptic attack, hit this other guy. This other guy's foot was shattered. He had all this time recovering. He was really mad. He ended up finally, he walked the Camino. And during the Camino, he realized he had to meet the gentleman who hit him and caused this injury. He met the guy who basically crashed into him, and then decided to take him on the Camino because the guy had such a hard time. He had these epileptic fixes. He was on all these meds, and he walked the Camino. And during that time, when he was walking the Camino, he actually got off a series of meds, just exactly like you were saying with your asthma. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't have any meds that I'm taking, but I mean, what a wonderful thing if that could just reboot your whole system to have a new physical life to it. I mean, that would be a fabulous outcome if it happens to me. I feel like how could it not happen to me? But
It's happening.
yeah,
Present day, present
I
tense.
know. I was thinking,
If I took you with the miles you're doing now, if I took you back 2, 3 months ago, you would have fractured, fallen apart.
yeah, I did. Do you remember? I did try
Yeah, you
doing
broke
12
your
miles.
husband.
Yeah, my husband is still broken. He has plantar fasciitis that he has not been able to kick since then. And it's funny because I did that 12-mile walk and you said to me, CJ, do not do anything. Just give your body a rest, which I was like, okay, Michael, I'll give my body a rest and I'll be gentle with it. And I didn't do anything the next day. And then I was very gentle coming back and I was fine. My husband, however, decided to do 2 runs back to back after that and got plantar fasciitis. And he's still, sorry to say, recovering from plantar
And now
fasciitis.
he's doing the walk too, right?
Yeah, so I don't know how he's going to play catch up, but he will. I mean, the human body is resilient. It will figure out something to do. But yeah, so he'll go through the same kind of process, but just in abbreviated form.
Yeah.
So anyway, I am feeling a little bit stuck and in a rut, and it is just pure plowing through. I like the idea of adding a little incentives,
Well,
um,
plowing through with
changing
play.
things.
Go
Yeah.
to your so one of the things that I did when I got into some real distances is I started taking my camera with me,
Mm.
and particularly going out sunrise and sunset and looking for the coolest shots that I could take. So that's
Mm.
one way to play and see things through
Mm.
childlike eyes.
That's a good idea.
Another option is to grab your map and at least a couple of days a week go someplace different, or
Yeah.
every day go someplace different. When I lived in Colorado Springs before I went to Europe and raced bicycles, I had this ORMS atlas of the Pikes Peak region, and I would pick a different mountain bike trail, or hopefully trail that the mountain bike could go on, because I didn't know what I was getting into, and highlight a different section of this atlas each day and try to fill in the map. And we are natural born explorers.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what
that
we
would help.
did.
Yeah, I think it would help. It's just, you know what, it's once you walk 4 hours a day, it's just I think I'll just have to do all of them for my house because like driving another 40 minutes in
I
addition,
get it.
it's just like, come on. I have no, I've literally done hardly any work because 4 hours, and you meditate, then it's like, it's like most of the day is gone from I'm reading a couple emails and catch up. So, but I think I will try some variety. And the other thing I've been doing is friends. I think this is true of anything whenever you're in a rut, right? It's like change things up, try new things. And I think also involve a community. So I've been
Yeah,
calling friends like, why don't you go for a walk with me? Why don't you go for a walk with me? Where do you live? I'll come to you. just just try to get
I like it.
myself, because then it's like way more enjoyable to meet with people and talk, which I think is probably closer to the Camino. And I think the Camino is going to be much more of an adventure because I'm in brand new places versus, Seattle and walking around the same walks I've done a bajillion times.
I forgot about it. I did there's a good punchline to this. I did a run on what was it, Saturday, Sunday,
Hmm.
and I had a limited window to use, and so I took Tessie to get to the run, which is a little bit faster to get
Yeah.
anywhere, and then I parked at the lower parking area rather than the main hiking area,
Hmm.
and I ended up running up to the start of the hiking area. And so
Yes.
I parked down where there are horses and horse trailers where people get on their horses to go hike on the trails. And and so I started early, sort of you like leaving your
Yeah.
house and going for a hike from there. And I came for a beautiful run, and I came back down, and there were people grooming their horses for the next group to rent their horses, and they said there was a whole herd of cow around your Tesla, and some of the cows started licking your car. I'd give anything to have this on camera because the security system, I didn't have it set up to record. I'm learning how to do this. One of them bit the right rear fender.
Oh,
I've got tooth marks from a cow in my car.
how does this happen?
I do have photos of the lick marks. I don't know, CJ. I was thinking it's an advertisement. Cows love Teslas too. And my friends have said, keep the bite marks in there. It's worth the story alone.
Oh gosh, I don't think I've laughed this hard this week. I ran into a friend who is a contractor, and he is working on a project, and it's a basement that has 12-foot ceilings. And I thought,
Oh,
wow,
that's
that
awesome.
is like a huge basement. I'm like, what are they doing in that place? And he said, well, they're kinks. And I was like, what? And I thought maybe he was using kind of a racial slur or something. I didn't really know. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he said, there are people who are into kinky stuff. And he said,
Oh,
so
kinks, not kings.
kinks.
So we need
I
like
didn't even know that that was a word.
swings or something.
So he's this contractor. And he's like, okay. So, because he has to make sure that it's the foundation that everything is going to rest on in this 12-foot basement. And plus 12-foot ceilings are really high. So he has to like figure out how to make sure like what kind of support beams. And he's like, so what kind of weight do you expect to be hanging from the ceiling, but he's trying to do it. It's like, so okay, so there's a pole here, there's some suspension beds here, and they're
You
like, yeah,
never
yeah.
know where this show is going to go.
It's like, yeah, yeah. And he's like, And he's like, and we need 4 drainage sinks. He's like, okay, 4 drainage. It's like, what? I don't think I've laughed so hard in my life. And he basically, because he's the calmest, like he's total nonplus. I mean, that's why he's a great contractor. Is you're like, oh, Sam, blah, blah, blah is happening. Ah! And he's like, okay, let's actually take this down. So you need this kind of problem, and you have this kind of problem. So anyways, and I said, so I can't even imagine what the designer is. What's the paint scheme? Blood red? And he said, no, it's black. Everything is black. The walls, the ceilings, the floor is black. So I just learned something that I never learned before.
This is a continuation of something I read earlier today. That's the weird thing, is there's a letter from the editorial in one of the Aspen papers this morning about a guy going to somewhere between an Airbnb and a hostel, and he's trying to choose rooms, and he's a journalist, and they said there's this room, there's that room, there's the other room, and then we have this one last room, but you don't want that room. He's like, well, what's that? And he's like, that's the fetish room. You don't want that room.
Oh
Well,
God.
what's the fetish room? And the whole article is about what's the fetish room, and then it ends on some sort of a note where you're left hanging as to what is. But it sounds like your contractor friend is making a fetish room. Let us leave that beautiful note. Being open to crazy new possibilities. We don't judge here on
No,
Inspired
I was like, it was more just his reaction. He's like, okay, so how many people are going to be suspended from the ceiling? He's like, okay. He's writing this down very calmly. Anyhow.
Even the Romans didn't have this.
Oh, wait, no, and here's the funniest thing. Okay, sorry. And he said, and so I was asking him, like, so what's the flooring? And they're like, well, we want to have radiant heating on the floor. And I said, really? Like, people are doing, who knows what to themselves, and they're concerned about cold feet? Like, I can't understand. I don't understand. Anyhow, that's basically my laughing. Oh, it's very interesting. Okay, so what are cold cover show revivals?
So before that, I want to go back to the graduation for a minute. And
Yeah.
I want to go to your walk, which is we've got people graduating as Inspire Nation coaches. We have yourself doing what to many will seem like a superhuman effort.
Yeah.
But for both of these things, the coaches, they're freaking, can I say that? They're freaking awesome. They
Yeah.
are awesome, but they're stepping forward into themselves. Yourself, you're freaking awesome. You're stepping forward into yourself. But this doesn't mean that any of us are special. All of us can do this.
Yes.
Truly, to steal the line from Jesus, all of us can do this and more. We just have to throw out away the limitations, the social limits that, oh, if you did that, I'm sure you've heard, you're going to walk how far? You're going to fall apart. Your feet aren't going to make it, blah, blah, blah. We all have these social conditionings of what we can and can't do, what we should and should not do. And I want to challenge people that any of this is possible by any of you, by any of us.
Yeah, and even the most horrible thing, I was just talking to someone about, what did he call it? He called it tests and, I don't know, test and tribulations or something like test and probations. And this is a book by Paul Brenton. Did you ever heard
Sounds
of
like
him?
trials and tribulations.
Yeah, it's trials
Instructions
and
for spiritual
living by Paul Brunton, and I was interviewing Jeff Cox about this, and we were talking about test and probations, and it's basically when your life is out of alignment, what happens is the universe brings you opportunities for alignment. Sometimes they come in beautiful strokes of grace, like you have a wonderful spiritual experience. Like you actually, right? You died, and then you had this like moment of grace where you realized that you loved Jessica and wanted to come back. It's just, it's like a moment of grace, and that forever changes you, right? Hopefully it forever changes you, or you're going to get, as you keep on saying, like, I learned, universe, please don't whack me on the head again.
Well, they are moments with grace, and profound grace, but sometimes that grace doesn't come in the kindest, gentlest fashion
Yeah.
because we may not be listening, and so we get a massive course correction.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you're in a rut, like if, I guess, try to move yourself out of it, or if you're out of alignment and you aren't in the rut, the universe won't move you. I mean, I view my concussion, my recent concussion, I didn't understand it as such. I mean, my husband was trying to hint at it. And when you're not ready to hear it, you're just like, yeah, thanks for your input. That kind of thing. And then I realized, like, yeah, it has really been a test and probation or an act of grace, because I am still so attached to my brain, my achievements as defining who I am. And, until I can really understand that those are none of what I am, I'm just going to continue to suffer. I'm not really one with myself and whole with myself. I'm less than, because I'm trying to achieve so much and be smart. I'm not. I can actually do the similar kinds of things, but my brain is coming online very slowly, and I can't multitask anymore. I can, but it comes at a huge cognitive load and literally a pain in my head. It's like I had a cleaver through my head whenever I try to do something that I did before in the manner that I did before. I can't multitask. I can't, if I'm working on a project, I have to take breaks. I can't just sit down and pound 8 hours and put together a PowerPoint and then the next day have no breaks and put another 8 hours editing it and then 2 hours in the night to deliver it. I did that last week, and it just about killed me. And so, like, this concussion has ended up, making me completely cognizant of the cognitive load on multitasking and how it hurts you. I didn't understand until literally it hurts my head, or if I don't get enough sleep, because my headaches were coming back earlier this week, and I thought, oh my God, my headaches are coming back, and I finished this project. Why do I still have headaches? And I looked at that week, and I got 5 to 6 hours of sleep that whole week. And so over the last week, I've just been sleeping 7.5 hours to get back. But it just shows you all that because of this concussion, I'm learning the importance of sleep, the importance of just doing one thing at a time, the importance of, when you're doing cognitive loads, that it causes a huge amount of stress on your whole body that I had no idea. And my dear friend John says, I think what the universe is doing is it's telling you to stop thinking. I think that's true. I didn't see myself as being attached to being smart and having high cognitive ability, but of course I'm Asian. I've gotten this program so much I don't even realize how dearly it's attached to my identity. So sometimes it's like, if you don't do whatever, start moving forward, and that's not to be like a scared straight moment, but I had one, you had one. You will get out of a rut, but it's nicer if you're in control of the scenario, I think.
Well, the control, that's an interesting one.
Or if you have, like, if you're initiating it yourself.
Yeah. So a whole bunch of things here, and it's been a theme. We had a YouTube live on Tuesday, and we were talking about the theme of resting in the beingness. In being rather than doing. And you can be on your walk rather than doing. You can actually turn your walk into a meditation.
I'm trying to. I think that's a good idea.
So focusing on the breath and just staying with the breath, or staying with the footfalls. But I mean, when I hear what you're describing, I say, how does it get any better than this? Yes, it prevents some of the doingness. And that's been a challenge of myself. My back, which is feeling much, much better today. 2 weeks ago, I had pushed it too much sitting. That's the most dangerous thing we do, is sitting. And my back went tweak. And I couldn't sit as much. That. I couldn't work as much. And these are beautiful guidance. So you can't multitask, and you can't push it as much, which all of these things are not good for the body anyway. So you're being brought back. And when we talk about resting in the beingness, and we talk about, you brought it up earlier, enlightenment. And a guest had recently mentioned it, and I'm really starting to grasp this idea now, and I really like it, that we think of enlightenment, it's really, most enlightenment is backdoor ego. oh, when I do my blah, 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 and my certain meditations, and I open this and open that, I will be enlightened. Man, just be here now.
Right.
That enlightenment is here, here. Now, in this moment, if I'm taking in everything without judgment, without attachment, it's my guess. Obviously, I'm not enlightened, but that's my guess as to how I would define enlightenment is fully being present in this experience. You talk about walking and not thinking as much. I go to Forrest Gump. I'll call it the Forrest Gump effect.
Mm-hmm.
He is like an enlightened being, a childlike joy and eyes through his journey. And yes, even running across the country and back and across and back again.
Right.
But he's let go of the thinking mind and just been in the present moment. He's also started like, Bubba Gump Shrimp, like $1 billion company and all of these other accomplishments.
Right.
But just staying in that moment.
Yeah.
And the last one I have is Dr. Srini Pillai. I really love him. He's a Harvard scientist and has a brilliant book, Tinker Dabble Doodle Try.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, you dive into your efforting with your mind, and then you get as far away from it as you can.
Right.
And you dive back in and as far away. And he would say no more than 40-minute time periods to allow the brain to recover and allow the metabolic waste, so to speak, that is built up. And your brain maybe has an inability to deal with much metabolic waste,
Right.
so you can't push it.
Right.
Allow it to go, bless you, allow it to go away. It's interesting, our time right now. First, let me pause and breathe and see. I gave you like 4 concepts
Oh
at
no,
once
I
there.
have like two ideas to riff off of that. I have during the weekend I went to that tantric workshop, and the gentleman there, Christopher Wallace, was Harish, is his Hindu name or Sanskrit name. And he had said that, he really doesn't like the word enlightenment because it seems like a steady state. It's a state that you arrive in. And like it's like you climb up the top of the mountain and you reach enlightenment,
Bingo.
and it's a state versus awakening, which is like infinite because you're constantly awakening and moving and moving and moving and moving and moving. That's one thing. And I do think that, I've been, the most interesting thing about doing these walks now is to recognize, like, wow, I could be doing all the things that you're mentioning, and I'm not. Why not? It's like, what's so hard about not listening to the news? It's ways to distract the mind, I think, for right now. But I'm not at that phase yet, but by the time I go on the walk, I'll probably be dropping deeper and deeper into a meditative state. I'm not there yet. It's almost like when I left Microsoft, your mind is like, and then it takes a while to be like, and finally it's like, it's like the null set. But it takes a while
Which is
to.
actually where the greatest ideas come from, ironically enough.
Yeah, I can firmly believe that. It just takes a while. And it's not as if my life was that crazy beforehand, but I think I would like it to be, most my life at Microsoft was here at like the highest peak of insanity. And I would say like I'm a quarter of where I was there. But I would say that I think I think it's like, an axis of like, 10 at Microsoft. I'm at a 4 out of 10 or yeah, no, whatever. Let's say 3 out of 10, a third. And then I would say that I'm trying to drop down to a 1. But I think most people's scale are like my scale is contorted. Like when people hear the amount of stuff that I do during a day, they're like, "You're crazy." I'm like, this is my normal, so I don't realize. So my 10 is probably on other people's scale, like a 50, right? So, but I'm like, it's a
I get
10
it.
to me. So I just want to I just am looking to kind of like ratchet it down. So I'm hoping that in the next 6 weeks, as I'm forcing myself to do the mental game is the game, like the mental game, and just watching where my mind goes and the resistance. I look at the backpack and I was like, I hate you. Like I went to look at it today.
Your best friend. You need your backpack to become your best friend.
I It's like,
or you need a new backpack.
exactly. It's not that the I mean, it's just the thought of regardless of how much it would weigh. It's not like a pocketbook that I just take without
You
thinking
need
about it.
to make it somehow tie-dye it something at yellow and get a smiley face put on it so you can make a new relationship because you're calling it the dread machine. I'm dreading the next 4 hours.
I'm not exactly that, but it's like, how can I make it like when I put my pocketbook on? I don't think about like, oh, I gotta go get my pocketbook and carry it across the street. It's like, this is just a thing that you do. So I'm trying to play the mental game
When
to transcend.
when I go running by myself, I carry almost nothing. When
Yeah.
I go running with Jessica, I carry a whole ton of stuff. I am her mule.
Okay.
And so, like yesterday, we were going out for whatever it was, and I'm putting on this heavy thing around my waist to carry a bunch of water for her. I'm not actually going to drink any of it myself, even though I guess it's like 94, 95 degrees, but I'm carrying water for her. Labor of love.
Just-
If you can reframe your pack as a labor of love. And really, what you're going on is a missionary walk.
yeah, it is.
It is a labor of love. You are doing it for God's source divine inner wisdom.
Hmm.
And so, if you can even say a prayer before you put it on with intention, maybe you can flip
Yeah.
that son of a thingy,
I'm gonna try it,
even
Michael.
just a little
I'm
bit.
I'm I'm at the point where I figured out what current status quo is, right? Like I'm relatively close, not exactly, but I've 6 weeks more. But I have kind of a okay, this is where my mind is going. This is what's happening with my body. Like how do I what would I ideally like? Here's the current state, here's what I would like, and how am I going to get to a more calm and
Have you been to
peaceful state?
Thailand?
No, uh-uh.
So Thailand and other parts of Southeast Asia, they have walking monks,
Mm-hmm.
and they walk all day long every day. They only stop to accept food. They have no currency with them,
Mm-hmm.
and then their day is walking prayer. It may be if you
Hmm.
put on. There are sports psychologists who do this, who have you put on a superhero uniform in your mind, and even people like a Barry Bonds would put on their own superhero costume before they go out on the field where they could do no harm. Maybe it's you put on in your mind's eye and you grab your beaded bracelets like I have in my hand or whatever, and you imagine that you are a monk going on your journey. Or there's a great book, really expensive. It was $100, 108 probably when I got it many years ago, a used copy. Marathon Monks of Mount Hiei,
Hmm.
and they would walk up to a marathon distance a day for almost 7 years,
Wow.
and they carry a knife with them. And prior to the most recent century, they would commit suicide if they were unable to continue, if the mind got, in a sense, too weak for them to continue. And the
Wow.
last century, thankfully, they have not carried that out. But that's their
Wow.
level of commitment. But read about them
Yeah,
and
that's a good idea.
imagine being in their shoes can help to flip the mind because what you are doing is holy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get there, and for me, if I was doing what you're doing, it would be, and I have problems, challenges with brain chatter now because there's so many pieces of my puzzle. So when I'm running, it is hard to fully quiet because my mind
Yeah.
wants to start working on all these problems. But if you can take it as a holy experience, I have 4 hours a day to dive into God,
Right.
whatever that means to you.
Yeah, that's
Four
good.
hours a day to be on the holy of holies, on my feet. I thought many years ago about writing a book on this topic, calling it In God's Shoes.
That's beautiful.
Walking on your feet, connecting with the earth. And you can connect with the earth on sidewalks, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can do that, it may help you to flip it to where it is an honor, an exhausting honor, mind you, but
Mm-hmm.
an honor for each and every step rather than why do I have to do this? It becomes a why do I get to do this?
Yeah. I think that's the goal. And I think I'm hearing And I think that what's interesting about this, I think for people who are listening, is that whether they're in a physical rut, like we're talking about a physical rut, right? Or a physical and mental rut of like, okay, I'm walking every day 4 hours and
Same
it's going to be
thing,
five
4 hours
hours
every day.
every day. And so it's like feeling stuck and like, well, I want to do this so I can get prepared to do this other walk in so many different ways. And the question was, what do you do when you're feeling stuck or in a rut? And I just want to summarize some of the ideas that we've been talking about. One is to change things up, right?
Mhm.
Literally change the scenery in what you're doing. The other thing I heard was having a little rewards. You talked about the Boba Fett bubble
Yes.
tea, or whatever my equivalent to Boba Fett is. And, because when you're doing, sometimes and it can be any reward, for you, maybe it's to take a walk. For me, it's to not take a walk.
My reward for my run is I get to take a walk. How does it get any better than that?
No, I'm just saying, like, you've been working really hard. You've been working, you're
Throw
launching
myself
1,000
outside.
things. Like, walk is a reward for you. For me, not so much. Um, and I think it's the mindset and I think whether you're I was thinking about this yesterday when I was reading through and trying to pound down my 1,000 emails down to 500. I have 500 more today. And the question would be like, how can I be doing this email thing, not in this like delete, delete, delete. and and it was interesting because the person who I was speaking with yesterday said, why don't you just say like love, love,
Oh,
love? Each time you delete it, it's just kind of like a different way. You're doing the same thing, but how do you change your mindset so you're doing it from a place of joy? Because ultimately, when in the practice that I'm in, the teacher says that, it's all about doing things. Life is all about joy. So if you're not having joy and you're suffering, it's because there's something in your mind that is causing that suffering. And I think it's getting in alignment with what that suffering is, and figuring it out, right? It's your life is out of alignment, and the universe is bringing you an opportunity, whether it comes in a concussion and near death experience, or just like not wanting to put the backpack on, right? Those are kind of opportunities to get like, okay, I'm out of alignment. This is a wonderful, beautiful trip. Why am I like, you know? And it's just getting to like, okay, life is now understanding what are you attached to? What is it that is causing you to act this way? And what would be helpful? Whether it's a treat or whatever. That's what I'm getting as a summary.
do you think when you do this walk, do you think A, now you are changing for the better? B, doing this walk, the Camino, which you are on the Camino now, which you've
I
heard
am.
from others, your
Yeah.
Camino has already begun.
Yeah.
Do you think from doing this walk you will change for the better? Do you think from doing this walk you will help others more? Do you think from doing this walk you will be of more service to humanity?
I think that all three will occur, and I I don't want to think about the latter two because then that it gets me too much in the achievement grasping. I'm attached to wanting to help the world, and it's like, don't be attached to that. Maybe nothing happens, and that's okay too. Maybe
Well,
nothing happens, and so that's okay too.
we are all on a um, fixed planet. It's funny when people talk about rain or making it like they're your rainmaker devices to bring more snow out for the mountains or something, and they're like, it has no effect on any place else. We're in a closed system,
Right.
folks. Everything we do affects everything else. That's the
Yeah.
butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Everything we do. If we are in a closed system, and this is something people like Howard Martin of HeartMath, Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza of Supernatural, are working on these things, of measuring these things, of having metrics, being able to test these
Mhm.
things, then we are each tuning forks.
Mhm.
Whether we consider that on a metaphysical level or we consider it. You can go check your EKG or your EEG and see how your head's doing, see how your heart's doing, put you in a room where you're stressed out with somebody else on the equipment too, and see what happens to them.
Right.
So whether we want to call it physical or metaphysical, we each affect everybody else. Closed system. So whether you are teaching a class high on a mountain with 1 million people beneath you, you are on the radio, so to speak, as we are, or whether you're in a cave meditating, everything affects everything else. Your frequency inherently will change on this journey. There's a very slim chance that you're going to become, lack of a less technical term, folks, a stressed out mofo from this journey.
Right.
Maybe. It's possible. You can let ego get involved.
Yeah.
But chances are you're going to drop in and be vibrating at a more pure, I don't even put labels on it, a good frequency.
Right. Yeah.
And that, if nothing else, will help change those around you. I used to love as a kid the movie The Blues Brothers. And they would, what was it? Jake Elwood, Dan Aykroyd would say, "We're on a mission from God."
Yeah.
Well, you're on a mission from God. Whether we call it God source cheeseburger, I don't care.
Yeah.
Call it whatever you will. If you can wrap your mind, and for everybody listening, if we can each wrap our mind around, no matter what you're doing, whether you're plunging toilets, pushing paper, taking care of kids, running a fire station, running a company, anything, nothing, just being, healing from illness, just being, whether you've chosen to go off the grid and be in a cave and you can still catch this podcast, which is super awesome, whatever it is, what you're doing is divine. It can change, it can evolve, but it is. If you can wrap your mind around this, CJ, that you are on a mission, not for achieving A, B, or C, but the walk each day, each minute is the mission.
Yeah. And it's funny.
Yeah.
I've talked to friends and they're like, "I just can't believe you're doing this. Like, why are you doing this?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just doing it." And it's like, well, I'm just like inspired that you're doing this. And, I think it's that kind of thing. I'm not doing it to inspire people. I'm just doing it because I've been called to do it probably about 4 years ago. And I've been continued the calling. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
And everybody, I think we're all called. We're all, even if we feel out of alignment, do what you're doing as a service to God, whatever that means to you. It doesn't have to be a religious thing at all.
Well, it's called seva, which is everything that you're doing, if it comes from a place of presence, is serving God. Or serving Shiva in that particular case. Yes. Woohoo! So any last thoughts from you? We went all over the place.
We all have greatness within us. We all are capable of a 500-mile journey, of a 5,000-mile journey. In fact, if we look at the number of steps we take, it's probably more of a 1,000,000 or 5,000,000-mile journey over our lifetimes. So I want to challenge you to step back and probably take some walks and feel into these things. What can you do with your life? What are you capable of doing? What do you have a niggling inside of you that you get to do, that you've been resisting because of what others say, because of what the others in your mind say? And what can we do to step forward ever so slowly, but like you're doing, methodically, a little bit each and every day to whatever is the gift that's wrapped around your heart? That's all I've got, CJ.
I'm good.
On that note, for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and
CJ Lou from the Fired Up with CJ show.
We're going to start calling Wonder Woman. Saying, be well, have fun, be of service now in this moment. Dive in as you're calling it. Dive into the awakening of each moment and to the awakening of your greatness. And above and beyond all else, shine bright.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below, or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.